When I asked my daughter about her wedding, for which I had paid $40,000, she replied it was 4 days ago, just for the family. I, the one who gave everything I had, turned out to be unnecessary. A month later, she called me and asked, "The mortgage is overdue. When will you pay it?" My answer turned her world upside down. She begged me for forgiveness. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The car door slammed like a gunshot outside my house, 7:30 on a Tuesday evening, and Bethany's heels clicked against my porch steps with the rhythm of a frantic drumbeat. I opened the front door to find my daughter's face, streaming. Mascara smeared down her cheeks like dark rain clouds, clutching wedding magazines against her chest. "Daddy, I need you to save my wedding." No hello, no explanation for showing up unannounced, just desperation wrapped in designer clothing, standing in my doorway while the Texas heat pressed against my back. "Beth, what's wrong? Slow down in the venue." She pushed past me into the living room, her voice cracking. "They want $40,000 by Friday or we lose everything. Everything, Daddy." My worn leather armchair creaked as I lowered myself into it. Bills scattered across the coffee table, forgotten. The single lamp cast long shadows across the room while the air conditioner hummed its steady rhythm. Bethany paced between my couch and the window, her breathing rapid and shallow. 40,000. The number hit me like ice water. "Bethany, that's everything I have saved." "I know." She dropped into the chair across from me, wedding magazines spilling across the floor. "I never wanted to ask you for something this big, but Daddy, this is my one day, the one day that will matter for the rest of my life." Her voice broke on the last word, and suddenly she wasn't 35 anymore. She was 8 years old again, standing in the same living room after skinning her knee, looking at me like I could fix anything in the world. My hands trembled as she handed me a glossy brochure featuring crystal chandeliers and marble columns. "The Grandview Estate," she whispered. "It's perfect, Daddy. Dave and I went there last month and I could picture walking down that aisle in Mama's dress, seeing you smile in the front row." Susan's voice echoed in my memory. "Never let our baby girl down, James, whatever she needs." "But sweetheart, your savings, gone?" Bethany's tears came harder now, the kind that made her shoulders shake. "The marketing contracts dried up, and Dave's been between jobs for 3 months. We've been living on credit cards, hoping something would break our way." The brochure felt heavy in my arthritic fingers. $40,000. My emergency fund, built penny by penny, over 15 years of careful living. Money I'd planned to leave her anyway, just not like this. "You said you'd always be there for me," she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "When Mama died, you promised nothing would change between us. Daddy." She only called me Daddy when she needed something important, and we both knew it. The childhood nickname fell from her lips like a practiced prayer, designed to crack open whatever resistance I might still have. I looked at the venue photos again. Soaring ceilings, gardens that belonged in fairy tales, the kind of place where dreams came true. Then I looked at my daughter's desperate face, at the designer purse that cost more than my monthly grocery budget, at the hope flickering behind her tears. The air conditioner clicked off, leaving us in sudden silence. "When is the wedding?" I asked. "June 28th. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. 6 weeks, just enough time to make it perfect if we can secure the venue." 6 weeks. I calculated quickly. Social Security, pension, the small interest from Susan's life insurance. I could make it work somehow. I always made it work. My shoulders slumped as the weight of decisions settled over me. Okay. Bethany's hand snapped up. "You'll get the money?" She launched herself from the chair, nearly knocking over my coffee table in her rush to reach me. Her arms wrapped around my neck, and for a moment she smelled like the little girl who used to fall asleep on my lap during Sunday movies. "I love you so much, Daddy. You're saving my entire life." As quickly as they'd started, her tears stopped. She kissed my forehead, gathered her magazines, and headed for the door with renewed energy. "I'll come by tomorrow morning for the money," she called over her shoulder. "Early, around 9:30. I need to get to the venue by 11 to finalize everything." The door closed behind me, leaving me staring at the scattered brochures on my coffee table. Outside, her Honda started up and pulled away with the last of my savings and somehow the last of my peace. Morning light streamed through the living room windows, illuminating the wedding brochures still scattered where Bethany had left them 13 hours ago. I hadn't moved them, hadn't slept much either, spending most of the night at my kitchen table with bank statements, calculator, and 3 cups of coffee that had grown cold while I ran the numbers again and again. Her car pulled into the driveway at 9 sharp, 30 minutes early. Through the window, I watched Bethany check her reflection in the rearview mirror, then stride up the walkway with the confidence of someone who knew she'd already won. "Morning, Daddy," she breezed through the front door I'd left unlocked, finding me still in my pajamas and terry cloth robe. "Let me get dressed first," I mumbled, but she was already settling into the kitchen, scrolling through her phone with the practiced ease of someone half her age. "Take your time, I'll just wait here." The bedroom sate sat behind my dresser, hidden beneath Susan's old jewelry box. My arthritic fingers fumbled with the combination. Her birthday, same as always, while Bethany's voice drifted from the kitchen, cheerful and impatient. "Daddy, everything okay in there?" "Fine, sweetheart, just counting."
$400,000 bills. I'd withdrawn them yesterday afternoon from 3 different banks, not wanting to explain to any one teller why James Carter suddenly needed his entire emergency fund in cash. The bills felt crisp and foreign in my weathered hands, more money than I'd ever held at once. Back in the kitchen, Bethany watched me count with barely concealed excitement. Her foot tapped against the linoleum floor in rhythm with her texting thumbs. Someone was messaging her constantly, Dave probably wondering about the timeline. "When exactly is the ceremony?" I asked, laying the bills in neat stacks on the kitchen table. "What church are you using?" "Oh, Daddy, so many details still to figure out." She waved her hand dismissively, but her eyes never left the money. "The venue handles most of the coordination. That's what makes them worth every penny." "And the guest list? How many people are we talking about?" "Medium-sized, nothing too fancy." Another text message made her phone buzz. She glanced at it quickly, typed a response, then looked back at me with practiced patience. "You worry too much about details. That's what wedding planners are for." I finished counting. $40,000 exact. Bethany's fingers twitched toward the envelope I'd prepared, but she forced herself to wait while I double-checked the amount. "There," I slid the envelope across the table. "Every cent." She snatched it with both hands, clutching it like she was afraid I'd change my mind. "You're the best father in the world. I mean that." The hug she gave me felt rushed, distracted. Over her shoulder, I caught a glimpse through the kitchen window of her car's back seat, packed with overnight bags and suitcases. Strange, she hadn't mentioned traveling anywhere. "Are you going somewhere after the venue meeting?" I asked. Bethany pulled away quickly. "What?" "Oh, those. Dave and I are thinking about a weekend trip before the wedding gets crazy. You know, last chance to relax." She kissed my cheek, envelope secure in her purse, and headed for the door with the same urgency that had brought her here last night. No lingering conversation, no coffee together, no time to discuss the father-daughter moments I'd been imagining since agreeing to help. "I'll call you later with updates," she called from the driveway. And then she was gone, driving away fast enough to kick up gravel from my unpaved driveway. I stood on the porch, watching her taillights disappear, feeling both proud and strangely hollow, like I'd just given away something more valuable than money. The morning air was already thick with humidity, promising another scorcher. I went back inside and sat in my leather chair, picking up one of the wedding brochures she'd left behind. For the first time, I really studied the pictures. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, gardens that looked like something from a movie. $40,000. Worth it. I told myself whatever made Bethany happy was worth it. By 2:30 that afternoon, the house felt too quiet. I needed air to space to process what had just happened. The wedding brochure came with me to the back deck, along with an old photo album I'd retrieved from the hall closet, one I hadn't opened since Susan's funeral 3 years ago. The wooden deck chair creaked under my weight, weathered and sun-bleached from years of Texas summers. Above me, the oak tree Susan had planted when Bethany was born provided blessed shade. I turned the pages slowly, each photograph a window into Bethany's evolution. Age 10, watching Princess Diana's wedding on our old television. Age 16, cutting pictures from bridal magazines. Age 22, bringing home different boyfriends. The rope swing I'd built when she was 7 still hung from the oak's lowest branch. Higher, Daddy, push me higher. Those were the days when dreams seemed as simple as reaching the sky. I could picture Bethany there in white silk, walking down an aisle lined with flowers while I escorted her to happiness. The image filled me with warmth, despite the nagging memory of her rushed departure.
Tomorrow, I'd call Bethany to ask about dress shopping, maybe offer to help with other wedding preparations. For now, though, I wanted to savor this feeling of having done right by my daughter, of honoring the promise I'd made to Susan all those years ago. The feeling of deep contentment settled over me like the oak tree's shade, protective, comforting, complete. I headed inside to start dinner, already planning our next conversation, unaware that Bethany would avoid my calls for the next 8 weeks, and that my contentment was about to shatter into pieces I'd never be able to reassemble. 3 days passed before I reached for the phone. Wednesday morning, May 19th. The landline felt heavier than usual in my arthritic hand. "Bethany, it's your dad. I was thinking about dress shopping." "Oh, Daddy." Her voice sounded breathless, distracted. "So much stress with the caterer right now. They're trying to change our menu at the last minute. Can I call you back?" She never called back. By the first week of June, my notebook had 5 unanswered calls recorded in careful handwriting. Each attempt followed the same pattern. I'd dial her number after lunch, listen to 3 rings, then hear Bethany's cheerful voice explaining why she couldn't talk. Venue problems, Dave's work schedule, family drama on his side. "Honey, do you need help with anything else?" I asked during call number 6. "Music? Flowers? I could drive up and—" "Everything's handled, Daddy. You've done enough." The line went dead before I could respond. June 20th marked 8 weeks of this dance. The wedding was supposedly 8 days away, yet I still knew nothing concrete. No church name, no ceremony time, no guest list numbers. When I pressed Bethany for details, her voice would get small and evasive. "When exactly is the ceremony? I need to get my suit cleaned." We're still finalizing the date. Dave's work schedule is so unpredictable right now, and his mother has been—" The line crackled. "Sorry, Daddy, bad connection. I'll call you tomorrow." Tomorrow never came. Heat shimmers danced across my backyard as July settled over Texas like a suffocating blanket. Inside, my phone remained stubbornly silent. Henry Jacobs found me on my back porch that Tuesday evening. "Wedding stress getting to you, James?" I told him about Bethany's big day back in May, proud as any father. Now the words felt foreign in my mouth. "She's been too busy to talk. Haven't heard from her in 2 weeks. Henry's weathered face creased with concern. "That normal for brides these days?" I wouldn't know. My voice sounded hollow even to myself. Never had a daughter get married before. "Maybe you should drive up there, check on her." The suggestion hung between us like heat lightning on the horizon, dangerous and inevitable. What kind of father shows up unannounced because his grown daughter won't return his calls? The kind whose life savings disappeared into a black hole of wedding preparations he'd never seen. July 15th arrived with temperatures pushing toward triple digits. I made my final attempt at contact that morning. "This is ridiculous," I said to the machine. "Call me back or I'm coming over." Silence stretched through the afternoon. By evening, I'd checked the phone 3 times to make sure it was working properly. Something cold had settled in my stomach over the past week. Not worry anymore, but a growing certainty that my daughter was deliberately avoiding me. The highway to Dallas stretched east from Oak Creek, carrying families toward reunions and fathers toward answers they might not want to find. 4 days of wrestling with indecision ended Saturday morning when I pulled my truck keys from the hook. July 19th, 9 a.m. sharp. I showered carefully, chose clean jeans and my best button-down shirt. The blue one Susan always said brought out my eyes.
Bethany's address was written in my careful script on a scrap of paper. I'd memorized it, but never used it for surprise visits. 20 miles out, doubt crept in like morning fog, but $40,000 bought me the right to ask questions. Mile markers ticked past while I rehearsed conversations in my head. Bethany explaining her silence with reasonable excuses, me apologizing for being an overprotective father. But as the Dallas suburbs materialized, the optimistic scenario felt increasingly unlikely. The GPS voice in my truck guided me through subdivisions where every street looked the same. Turn right at Maple Ridge Drive, left on Oakwood Circle, straight past identical mailbox clusters until I reached Bethany's building. Her parking space held her blue Honda, which meant she was home. I turned off the engine and sat for a moment in sudden silence, my heart hammering against my ribs like it had 47 years ago when I raced Susan to the hospital for Bethany's birth. The dashboard clock read 10:15. Through my windshield, Bethany's apartment building looked generic and unwelcoming. One knock on a door that might finally provide answers to questions I'd been asking since May. Apartment 2B. I knocked firmly twice. Footsteps approached the door, paused. The peephole darkened. A long moment passed before I heard the deadbolt turn. "Daddy, what are you doing here?" She opened the door just wide enough to show her face, still in pajama pants and an oversized t-shirt. Her hair was uncombed, her expression caught between surprise and something that looked suspiciously like panic. "You haven't been answering my calls. I was worried. I've been so busy with," she gestured vaguely behind her. "Come in, I guess, but I can't visit long. Dave and I have plans this afternoon." The apartment was smaller than I had imagined. Wedding cards scattered across the kitchen counter caught my attention immediately. Dozens of them, some still sealed. "Nice place," I said, though it felt cold despite the air conditioning. "Very modern." Bethany moved nervously between the living room and kitchen. On the coffee table, several picture frames lay face down, like she'd been trying to hide something before I arrived. "Honey, I need to know about the wedding." I kept my voice gentle, paternal. "When exactly is the ceremony?" She froze with her back to me. "Why do you need to know?" "Because I'm your father, because I gave you $40,000 to make your dream wedding happen, because I've been patient for 2 months. Daddy, please don't make this harder than it has to be." Something in her tone, resignation mixed with guilt, made my chest tighten. Make what harder? Bethany turned slowly to face me, and I saw tears gathering in her eyes. The wedding was 4 days ago. The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually stepped backward, my hand finding the doorframe for support. "That's not funny. It wasn't supposed to be funny." Her voice got smaller with each word. "It was just immediate family, very small ceremony at Dave's parents' church. We decided we wanted something intimate." Immediate family? The phrase echoed in my mind. Immediate family that apparently didn't include the man who'd raised her, loved her, sacrificed his entire life savings for her happiness. "Do you want to see the video?" Bethany held out her phone with trembling fingers. "We hired a photographer. It was really beautiful." I looked at the screen showing a frozen image of my daughter in white silk standing beside Dave in what looked like a small church sanctuary. Her smile was radiant, genuine. No, the word came out colder than I had intended. My daughter had stolen my money and my dreams, then had the audacity to offer me a recording of what I'd missed. "Daddy, please understand, we didn't want a big production, all that stress, all those people to please. This was perfect for us." Perfect? I tested the word, found it bitter. And where exactly did my $40,000 go, if not for this perfect intimate wedding? Bethany's face crumpled. "We needed it for other things. The apartment deposit, Dave's car payment, some credit card debt. The wedding only cost $3,000. $3,000? I'd given her enough money to buy a car, and she'd spent it paying off mistakes while lying to me about dream venues. You played me. The venue, the stress, the desperate phone call. You needed money and knew exactly which buttons to push. It wasn't personal." Those 3 words cut deeper than any intended cruelty could have. I looked at Bethany one last time, memorizing the face of someone I thought I knew. I shook my head once and turned toward the door. "Daddy, please don't leave like this." But I was already walking away, stepping back into the Texas heat. The drive home passed in fragments, the first 10 miles in complete silence, my mind blank except for the road ahead. Somewhere around mile 20, I started talking to myself. 4 days ago. She stood in my living room 4 days ago and let me worry about a wedding that was already over. As I drove, I looked over at the empty passenger seat where Susan used to sit, humming along to the radio. The emptiness felt different now, not just the simple absence of my wife, but the terrifying void left by a daughter who had chosen to become a stranger. I realized I was grieving 2 women today, the one I buried 3 years ago, and the one I lost 4 days ago to greed. Traffic slowed near a construction zone, forcing me to sit still with my thoughts. That's when the real anger started building. Not the hot, explosive kind, but something colder and more dangerous. Every hug had been calculated. Every "I love you, Daddy" had come with a hidden price tag.
I pulled into my driveway and sat for another moment, engine ticking as it cooled. Through the windshield, my mailbox bulged with accumulated mail I'd been ignoring. Bills, advertisements, probably more brochures from wedding venues. I gathered the pile against my chest and headed inside. My kitchen table became a sorting station, bills in one stack, junk mail in another. But one envelope made my blood run cold. First National Bank, Bethany's mortgage company. Urgent payment past due. Account number 478291, payment amount $1,050, due date July 15th, days overdue 4. The same date Bethany got married, the same amount I'd been sending every month. I pulled out the file folder labeled Bethany House Help and spread its contents across my desk. 12 months of canceled checks, $12,600 plus the $40,000 wedding money. My daughter had cost me over $52,000 in 1 year. August of last year, Bethany arriving at my house with photographs of a starter home. She and Dave had found it. Young couple, promising careers, just needed help getting established. You'd practically be investing in my future, Daddy. 6 months had become 12 months, and not once had Bethany mentioned stopping the payments or thanked me for the ongoing support. While I'd been eating store-brand groceries, my daughter had been living in a house I was paying for, planning a wedding with money she'd manipulated from me. I picked up the bank notice with its bold red past due stamp. Bethany thought I'd just keep paying forever automatically. She was about to learn how wrong she was. Sunday morning arrived with clarity. I woke before dawn, mind sharp. At 8 sharp, I dialed First National Bank. "This is Margaret in Mortgage Services. How can I help you today?" "My name is James Carter. I've been making payments on account 478291 for my daughter, but I'm discontinuing that arrangement immediately." "I see you're listed as an authorized payer. Are you requesting removal from the account?" "Exactly. I want all automatic transfers stopped and I want my name removed as a responsible party. This arrangement is over." "I understand. We'll need that request in writing." The letter took me 20 minutes to write. "Effective immediately, I am withdrawing all financial support. I will make no further payments of any kind." I signed it with the same pen I'd used to sign Bethany's checks for 12 months. Walking to the copy center in town gave me time to think through implications. Bethany would receive notice within days. Dave would have to step up or they'd face foreclosure proceedings. Real consequences for real adults. Back home, I updated my budget. Without Bethany's mortgage drain, I had an extra $1,050 monthly. The relief was physical. My phone started ringing around 10:30. Bethany's number. I looked at the phone, let it ring, and walked to my workshop instead. The workbench held a project I'd abandoned, a jewelry box for Susan. Cherry wood, dovetail joints. I picked up my smoothing plane and felt its familiar weight. This was my time now. 1 month of freedom had transformed my kitchen. August 20th found me halfway through painting the last cabinet. The phone's harsh ring cut through the music. On the 4th ring, curiosity won. "Hello?" "Daddy, thank goodness you answered. I've been trying to reach you for days." Bethany's voice hit my ear like fingernails on a chalkboard.
The bank called this morning. They said the mortgage payment is a month overdue. When are you going to pay it? I set my paintbrush down carefully. Is that so? Daddy, they're talking about foreclosure proceedings. We could lose everything. Everything. The word tasted bitter. When are you going to pay it? She repeated. I'm not. What do you mean you're not? I mean exactly that. I'm not paying it today. I'm not paying it tomorrow. I'm not paying it ever again. But Daddy, you always help me. You promised you'd always be there. I helped the daughter I thought I had. That person doesn't exist. Please, we'll lose everything. The house, our credit, our future. Then I guess your family will have to handle it. Family? We are family. Family doesn't lie about weddings, Bethany. Family doesn't use love as currency. Family doesn't exclude the people who sacrifice for them. But what are we supposed to do? Dave's still looking for work. What you should have done from the beginning. Figure it out yourselves. Daddy, please, I don't understand how you can abandon me like this. Abandon you? You abandoned me first, at an altar I never got to see, surrounded by family that apparently didn't include the man who raised you. I hung up while she was still crying. I stood in my kitchen, listening to the echo of my own words. The air around me felt lighter, cleaner somehow, stripped of the heavy fog of deceit I'd been living in for too long. By 5:30, I had a new refrigerator delivery scheduled, a fishing trip planned, and a contractor's estimate requested. My calendar now belonged to me. Grilling a steak on the back porch felt like luxury. Henry appeared at the fence. You're looking mighty content over there, James. Good day for it. Beverly's handling her own affairs these days. I'm focusing on mine. Probably healthy. Can't live your kids' lives for them forever. Forever ended when it did. At 6:30, a car door slammed. Bethany appeared around the corner, with Dave trailing behind. They approached my back porch with hesitant steps. I didn't stand up. I figured you'd show up eventually.
Bethany looked terrible. Daddy, we need to talk. This is serious. Everything's always serious with you, Beth. That's how I know it usually isn't. We'll lose the house. Everything we worked for. Everything I worked for, you mean. Dave finally found his voice. Mr. Carter, we really appreciate everything you've done for us, and we understand. Do you? I cut him off, because that wedding said otherwise. Bethany dropped to her knees in the grass. Please, Daddy, I'm begging you. We can't survive without your help. You created a family without me, I said. Now survive as that family. But you're my father, Bethany's voice cracked. You're supposed to help me. I don't know what you are anymore, but you're not the daughter I raised. Dave tried again. Sir, maybe we could work out some kind of payment plan? The plan is you handle your own responsibilities. Bethany played her final card. What would Mom think of you abandoning me like this? The mention of Susan hit exactly the wrong nerve. I stood up, feeling steel replace whatever softness remained. Your mother would be ashamed of what you became. She'd be disgusted by how you use love as a weapon and family as a bank account. Bethany fell silent. $52,000 you took from a man who loved you enough to give you everything. My voice carried across the yard. And not once did you think to include me in the life I was financing. Get off my property, I said, both of you. They rose without protest. Bethany looked back once, but I'd already settled back into my chair. Their car started up and drove away, fading into the Texas evening. Tomorrow, I'd start painting the bedroom. Tonight, I'd just enjoy the silence of a man who'd finally learned the difference between being a father and being a fool. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share your impressions of the story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.